Hello, and welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm your host, Gary Cord, and today my guest is Ms. Stephanie Klein. Stephanie is a candidate for judge in the Court of Common Pleas. Hello, and welcome to Meet the Candidates.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. I
Thank-
appreciate that.
I appreciate you being here. Now, Stephanie, before I begin, I do realize that there may be questions that you may not be allowed to answer or offer opinions about. If that occurs, please let me know, and we'll just move on.
Okay, thank you so much for understanding.
Okay. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for several decades. I was the magisterial district judge for Media, Nether Providence, and Swarthmore for 18 years. I served from 1996 to 2013. Currently, I'm a mediator and an arbitrator at a regional alternative dispute resolution firm in Philadelphia. I ran for judge. I was the first woman, the first Democrat to serve in that position, and I was elected 3 times. The work that I did as a district judge was informed by the 10 years that I had spent with 2 legal services programs that serve the poor. One of them was in the city of Chester, where I ran the volunteer lawyer program for then Delaware County Legal Assistance, now Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania, for 5 years. And before that, as a young lawyer, I was a legal services attorney in Maryland, representing veterans, the unemployed, the disabled, both at administrative hearings and in federal and state court. And their stories helped me understand the struggles that people have from day to day and helped me be a better judge.
Sounds like you have an extensive career in the judicial system and the legal system.
Yes, sir.
What are the actual responsibilities of a common pleas judge?
Okay, so the Common Pleas Court, and there are Common Pleas courts in all 67 counties of Pennsylvania. They are the courts of general jurisdiction, the trial court. And what they do is they hear all the family law cases, from divorce to support to child custody, even paternity. They do the major civil trials, 50,000 and over, and also appeals from the district court where I served, which considers small claims. They do all the criminal trials, which are the next part of the cases that I did as a district judge, setting bail and doing the preliminary hearings to see if there was sufficient evidence to send the case to the Court of Common Pleas. And last and not least, in orphans court, they consider petitions for guardianship, adoptions, and will contests.
Now, you spoke a lot about the civil side of the court. There's also a criminal side.
Yes, of course.
Right? And assuming you win, did you have a preference whether you serve on the civil or criminal side?
So I am struggling with that. I have significant criminal experience as a district judge, and I just think that it's so important to serve in that capacity. But I have also a lot of experience in the civil side, both hearing small claims in the district court, but also for the past 3 years serving as a judge pro tem at the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, settling major trials. And I also mediate and arbitrate cases that are civil, auto accidents, and all kinds of personal injury, things like that, real estate disputes, employment disputes. And as a legal services lawyer, particularly when I was in Chester, the majority of our cases were in family law, mostly custody. And for a period of time, after I left legal services, I had a family law practice. So I am experienced in family law. And again, I know how crazy it is for people who are facing custody disputes, the breakup of their family in a divorce, child support, worrying about how they're going to make ends meet with two households. So I feel drawn to that as well. There is also a juvenile court that I forgot to mention, and currently that position was vacated by Judge Nichols, who was such a wonderful judge that he was recognized by the Pennsylvania Bar Association last year. And I'm drawn to that as well. I dealt with a lot of kids as a district judge, and frankly, it was in truancy, underage drinking, when they got into foolishness, maybe a little bit too much spare time on their hand, hanging out with a bunch of other kids. Someone has a foolish idea, and being young people, they think second and act first. And we had diversionary programs for those kids to set them on the straight and narrow. So I feel drawn to that as well. I suspect that the court has been without 4 judges and now 5 for a long period of time. I'm guessing that President Judge Kelly will send us where he thinks we can best serve.
You mentioned the term pro tem. Can you define that?
So the judges pro tem are actually serving in the place of an elected judge, and they are asked to come in. I had been going until I embarked on this journey to become a judge every single month to Philadelphia to try to settle cases that are assigned to me. So that is, that kind of case. I also volunteer with the Bar Association. We also have a similar kind of program called the Voluntary Settlement Program, and I'm assigned to work with another mediator to try to settle cases, to make sure that people have an ample opportunity to be heard and to work with a trained mediator to try to settle the case before it goes to trial.
All right, so can I cut right to the chase?
Sure.
Why should I vote for you?
I clerked for Judge Edward Lawhorn, who was a Democratic judge. He was appointed 3 times, and he could never win his election. It was from him, because I always thought that I would be a legal aid lawyer and I could serve that way. And every single day I felt that I was fighting the good fight for my clients, helping people who had no access to legal advice and to legal representation, and giving them a chance to be heard, giving them a chance to win their cases and gain valuable benefits or help in custody or help with a consumer case that otherwise they would not have been able to do by themselves. The legal system is a very, very scary place for a person who is not represented. But when I clerked for Judge Lawhorn, I realized that judges are so important to people like my former clients to make sure that they have an opportunity to be heard. And I had started the kernel of the thought at that time when I clerked with him, and he allowed me to sit in everything, and I helped draft his opinions and his findings of fact and conclusions of law, that was a wonderful way to help people. So when I had the opportunity to run for district judge, I was delighted. I worked very hard every single day, and I was just so delighted with the work and the opportunity to make sure that when people came to court, that they not only were heard, but that they felt that they were being heard, and that win or lose, walking out of that courtroom, they knew that they had their fair day in court. This is an opportunity for me to be part of our Court of Common Pleas, the place where so many people are scared, are trying to resolve their conflicts, because this is the way we resolve our conflicts in America. We don't pick up arms. We don't duke it out. We file a complaint. We hire an attorney, or we listen, or we go to court sometimes because we can't afford an attorney, and we expect that the judge is going to listen to us. I need and I want to be part of that, because I think that my experience and my qualifications will make me a valuable addition to the court and improve the administration of justice in Delaware County.
I'm so glad you touched on those points because many from minority communities feel intimidated and helpless, by the judicial process. While most minorities feel that they are not treated fairly by judges and the legal system in particular. How do you personally plan to address their concerns?
So first of all, you need to understand that I started in Baltimore City, which is a majority Black city, and most of my clients were Black. And frankly, I think that we didn't have a large Latino community there. And similarly, when I moved to the office closer to DC, um, most of my clients were minorities. I think that we as lawyers learn as much from our clients as they learn from us about the law. We learn about the struggles every single day, and we learn about what you have just talked about, how helpless they are when they are faced with a dispute, a conflict, or charges in the criminal justice system. And it is our job as judges to make sure that that person understands that the judge is there for them to hear their case, to hear everything that they have to say according to law, and to make sure that they are comfortable in the courtroom and that their rights are protected. And that's what I hope to achieve. What you are telling me, as I have been in the past knocking on doors in South Media, which is a historical Black community, which was in my district, and I have been going around the county. I have knocked on doors several times in Yeadon. I have just knocked on doors in Chester, and I worked in Chester. I was in Darby Borough, I was in Collingdale, I was in Sharon Hill. All of these communities, I hear the same thing, that I don't necessarily think that the judge sees me. And it's my job as a judge to make sure that, I think that all of our judges are fair. They try to be fair every single day. But it's my job as a judge to go that one step further and to make sure that the person in the courtroom understands that I'm there to see them, to hear their story, and to make sure that they have the opportunity to be heard and their rights are protected.
Mass incarceration and unfair sentencing, the sentencing guidelines, has adversely affected Black and brown communities. What is your sense of the new criminal justice reform bill and its impact?
The one that was just passed by the feds,
Yes.
second chance.
Yes, that's correct.
Second chance. So I think that it's as a judicial candidate, I'm not supposed to be specifically commenting on that. I don't think. However, I am acutely aware of the issue of mass incarceration and how it has adversely affected communities of color. I'm acutely aware. I just actually read a really interesting book which talks about the history of mass incarceration in this country, which essentially started in response to the drug epidemics of the 70s and 80s. And people thought that we were keeping communities safer when in fact what we did was we locked up large parts of the population of communities of color, caused trauma to children, and we may have made our communities safer for the period of time that those people were incarcerated, but at the end, when those people needed to come home, and they would come home, most of them, they were left with limited job opportunities, they were left with fractured families, they were left with children who had suffered trauma because of the breakup of their family, and limited job opportunities, limited educational opportunities because they had limited job opportunities and couldn't pay for an education. So I think that there is a growing consensus amongst commentators, on all spheres of political parties that necessarily locking up more people doesn't necessarily benefit society. As a judge, I swear an oath to obey the Constitution of the United States, the Pennsylvania, and implement the laws that have been passed by the legislature. So this is not something that we as judges can necessarily do except in the cases for which we have discretion. This is really something that our legislators and our Pennsylvania Supreme Court, to the extent that there are rules that implement those statutes, need to address.
You know, you spoke briefly about the drug epidemic of the 70s and 80s, and don't get me started on that. We could be here for quite some time.
Quite some time.
But I did want to ask you about bail bonds. You know, that industry generates about $2 billion a year and impacts disadvantaged individuals. What is your position on eliminating cash bails for certain cases or crimes?
So again, I can't specifically respond to that. I'm aware that in various states that they have implemented changes. Changes. And Tennessee is one of them. And I know that the Bronx District Attorney, they've implemented some changes in which no cash bail becomes the default, and I think New Jersey as well, and that the prosecutor needs to come in and justify the assessment of some kind of cash bail. Currently, that is not the law in Pennsylvania. To the extent that something like that would be implemented in Delaware County, that would have to be addressed by the district attorney's office, working with the bail office, because the district attorney is asking for, in many cases, is asking for cash bail. The police are asking for cash bail, and the judges are required to consider a variety of factors that are enumerated in the bail rules, as well as anything else that the judge deems relevant. And part of the problem here is the fact that that because it is so discretionary, if we have 30 district judges in Delaware County, I would imagine that those 30 judges all see those various factors somewhat differently. So with guidance from the court, from the president judge and the Court of Common Pleas, with the district attorney's guidance and to the bail office, changes could be implemented, but currently the law is that the default is not no cash bail. I know that for example, in other jurisdictions, they have implemented for lower level offenses, they have implemented no cash bail, and there are GPS monitors. People are given notification, required to download notification apps to make sure that they come to jail, and they've had some success with that. So I would look forward to working with my colleagues, with the county council, with the district attorney, to see whether or not there was a consensus to implement that here in Delaware County. So can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
Notwithstanding the fact that the rules haven't been changed, I always, as a district judge, I always took into account people's ability to pay, because lots of times the bail interviewer would recommend a certain amount, and I would always immediately ask the defendant, can you post that? Can someone post that with you? And if they could not post that exact amount, I would say, well, how much could you post? And that way, we could set a bail within that person's ability to pay, provided it was within the parameters that I felt were appropriate under the rules.
Okay. Delaware County has been dominated politically by the Republican Party, and Democrats now have an opportunity to reverse that trend. If that occurs, do you anticipate a smooth transition of power, or do you, or turmoil?
So I don't anticipate any difficulty with we four judicial candidates getting elected. We all belong to the Delaware County Bar Association. I've been part of that bar association now for at least 30 years. I've been a member of the board of directors 3 times. I chaired the district judge committee with my colleague Chris Maddox, who's one of the district judges in Upper Darby. And currently I co-chair the women's committee and I chair the pro bono committee. So I am a bar association person in a bar association that is comprised primarily of my Republican friends and colleagues. I know all of the judges. Most of them I know before they were judges. So I personally do not anticipate any transition. My 3 fellow judicial candidates, Nusrat is a member of my Women in the Law Committee. She's an active member of the Bar Association. Rick and Kelly both joined the Bar Association and have become active as well. With respect to County Council and the District Attorney's Office, I think that there may be, transition pains, but there always are. I think that, I'm not allowed to endorse non-judicial candidates under the Code of Judicial Conduct, but I think that they're all committed to doing a good job. Delaware County government is a big, massive enterprise, and I think that they will be committed to transitioning as easily as they possibly can.
The President of the United States has shown disdain for many judges. Wow, I can't speak today. But in particular, those of color, and demonstrates very little respect for women. He also openly violates judicial rulings, while the party he leads, in my estimation, has been craving in their responsibilities to hold him accountable. If our laws do not apply or are being enforced on him, then why should they apply or be enforced on him?
My goodness. So I think that we have seen people's concern about our president's action. I mean, we read about it in the newspaper every day. We've seen, we have a Democratic House, we have a Republican Senate, and we have seen time and time again the difficulty that they've had agreeing. I think, though, that our courts have stood apart and protected our democracy, and that is the function that they serve. We have a checks and balance system, and we have concurrent systems both federally and in each of our 50 states. So one of the things that I feel is so important about electing good judges is we need to make sure that those judges are mindful of their oath each and every day to uphold the law, to uphold the U.S. Constitution, to uphold the Pennsylvania Constitution, regardless of, based on the facts, based on their application of the law in the matter in front of them, and make the best decision that they can, regardless of all of these outside influences. And I think that we have seen that time and time again, that federal judges have made decisions that have gone against politics, and they have suffered criticism from various quarters, And yet those judges continue to make the best decisions that they can. And that's what each of us as a judge must do each and every day in every matter, no matter how minor, no matter how important its implications are.
How can voters reach you and or donate to your campaign?
I have a website. It's www.kleinforjudge, and you will see information about all kinds of things, including how to support the campaign in various ways. I have a Facebook page, Stephanie Klein for Judge. You can volunteer with the county Democratic Party, or you can volunteer with your individual committee in the town in which you live. We have canvases going on, knocking on doors every single weekend and every day of the week, and we would welcome everyone's assistance in knocking on doors here and around the county. You want to have an event with your neighbors to meet the candidates, please. You want to have an event to help us, support us. I'm not allowed to ask for money in all the other ways. Please do that. The election is only 60 days away, and we need everybody's help to make this happen. This is a historic election. We have never elected Democratic judges to the bench. We have never had a majority Democratic county council. We have never had a Democratic district attorney. Every vote always counts, but in this particular election, every vote counts. We have seen around the country where people have won by small margins of votes. Most recently in New York, in the Queens District Attorney race, the candidate won by 22 votes in a county of hundreds of thousands of voters. So we know that every single person's vote counts, and no one wants to be the one vote that causes the loss of the election. So make a plan to vote, tell your friends to vote, volunteer, help in any way that you can, because this is going to be an amazing election, and we, my fellow candidates, we're going to do it this November 5th.
My closing question was going to be if you had any final thoughts or comments, but I think you just made it.
I think I just did it. And one other thing, I mean, as we're knocking on doors in the county, I can't tell you how many people have told me, thank you so much for coming here and introducing yourself. Now I understand what I'm supposed to be doing on election day. So we will be on as many doors as we can. We will meet as many people as we can. So look for us in your community, and because we may be around the corner from you.
Well, Stephanie, I want to thank you for sitting down with me and meet the candidates.
I
certainly appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and everyone else who is listening. Thank you.